Welcome to Sports and a Slice of Life. And now, here's your host, Dave Lewis.
Once upon a time, he was freezing in Cheney, Washington with no money, paying dues, old car. Now you're at Stanford. The Bradford M. Freeman Director of Football is Troy Taylor. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you ever think about that, Coach, like where you were and then you walk around what you call Disneyland, you
Yeah.
say, man, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah, sometimes, sometimes you have those moments. I think a little bit about, people have been in this position prior, like Bill Walsh, somebody that I really, admired and definitely had a huge influence on me, that I'm in his chair, and that's pretty cool. But, typically I'm moving on to something else, or so I don't spend too much time thinking about that. But the great thing is all my stops that I've had, I mean, they were never a stop to get anywhere else. It was always just enjoying where I'm at. I could have stayed at Folsom High School, forever and been really happy. And Eastern Washington was great. Love Sacramento State. And then now I'm here. So I love working with people. I love coaching and watching guys grow and improve and have, watch them have success, and to be a part of that is an honor. And no matter where you're at.
Well, after going 30-8 at Sac State, this was a no-brainer job to take. And I was thinking about your last few days at Sac State. You had the playoff game with Incarnate Word. It ended darn near midnight, 11:45, 66-63 the final. Then maybe 10, 12 hours later at Stanford. What about that kind of emotional roller coaster you were on during that period of time?
Yeah, it was, obviously I knew I was taking the job the night before, and, just really focused on finishing, playing that game and hopefully winning and continue. I was going to finish the entire season there at Sacramento State. But then, I got home at 2 a.m. or whatever, and a car came and picked me up at like 6 a.m, a few hours later. And then it was pretty much a sprint for the next 2 months. And it was fun, but hiring a staff, recruiting our existing players, trying to keep everybody to stay put in Palo Alto, and then recruiting a new class, and and figuring out the university and how things work and all that. It was definitely a busy time. I don't know if I'd ever want to do that again. The 2 weeks of it being a little bit numb, you're moving so fast, but now things have settled in. I'm very routine oriented. So now that I'm in a routine, and I have my staff and everything, it feels really good.
At what point were you able to catch your breath, get a little downtime, and what'd you do?
Yeah, probably Christmas, not till Christmas, really. I was able to get some downtime and go back and just hang out with my family. But really, it wasn't until then. It was not really a lot of downtime.
Yeah, you built the program in Sacramento, Coach, from nothing, 30-8 over your 4 years, won your last 19 consecutive Big Sky games, and you did it in a different way. So you used the transfer portal to plug in gaps, quarterback, even cornerback, JC linebacker. Obviously, Stanford's a different strategy in terms of how you build the program. What do you tell a Stanford kid or a prospective Stanford kid when you sit in their living room, and what are you looking for to be that unicorn you're looking for?
Yeah, I think, obviously the pool of the Stanford student athlete is very small, and you got to go all over the country. Where at Sacramento State, we could predominantly recruit California and Northern California, and Southern California was big for us as well. But we could really focus on that, never really get on a plane further than, an hour flight. Here, we got to go all over the country. But it's pretty clear what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that want to be elite students and play elite football. And not everybody can do that. And so, but I do think the appeal that Stanford has, we're the only Power 5 school that offers the degree that we offer. So we feel good about our niche. And it's, again, you got to find specific people. But once you find the right person, they're drawn to this place just because it's really incredible what it can offer you, not just, your 4 years there and playing football, but beyond that for the rest of your life. And I feel great about offering that and truthfully saying that there's not a better university in the world for you. And you get to play big time Pac-12 football.
For the Stanford fans that just know, hey, Troy Taylor's got this creative offense and you're going to be throwing it all over the place. Hey, you run the ball. I mean, that's the foundation of what you do. You got to play, grind it when you got to grind it, throw it when you got to throw it as well. Can you talk about the epiphany you had? Because I remember you telling me one time you were at Folsom and you weren't killing it yet, but you were watching a college game and
Yeah.
some kind of light bulb went off and it changed your life in terms of how you approach offense.
Yeah. Yeah. We had, I had, when I got to Folsom, I just really, it was a college football coach for a few years and learned the West Coast scheme, which is great, which is Bill Walsh's scheme. It still has tons of his fingerprints all over the system. But I really went in with just the intention of running the kind of the West Coast scheme. And we weren't very good. Folsom had went from like a 3A program to a 1A program in the best league in the area, and we didn't adjust very well. We went 15-15, and I'm not a great loser, and so it became apparent that we had to do something different. And I was watching, I think it was a Utah game. They were in the Mountain West at the time. I think it was when Urban Meyer was there, and they were just doing things differently that had back then in 2004 that not everybody had done. Tempo using the whole field, quarterback run game, just really in a kind of an attack mindset. And so from that point on, I was like, okay, I got to do something a little differently. And so kind of from then on, we just used that class at Folsom High School as a real laboratory where we just tried, for 14 years, anything that kind of came to mind that was unique or different or thought had a chance to be successful, we just started experimenting with it. Because we had that class, we were able to work offense every single day in that class. And we created really the offensive system that is being used now. So if it wasn't for me getting out of college football and being able to come back and be at a high school where I was free to kind of do things kind of the way I want to do them and experiment and kind of find my own coaching voice, not to over dramatize it or anything, but kind of find my own voice and how I'm going to do things and figure that out under not a lot of speculation or not really anybody paying attention. For me was a real opportunity that, you wouldn't expect. I kind of thought I was the guy that was the college football coach that was going to come there and use the system and kind of blow everybody away. And what it was is it didn't work. And I had to figure out how to do it. We had to figure out how to do it at Folsom High School. And we were able to do that. And then it gave me a great deal of confidence and also kind of what works. And so still doing that, still morphing things, still trying to find a better way of doing it. But really the basis and the nuts and bolts of what I'm doing here at Stanford all started at Folsom High School.
How long did it take before you felt like you had it dialed in, like, okay, this is something that really works and we can go far with it?
Yeah. So I would say, once we won the first section championship against Grant in 2010, I still have a picture of that. And I carry wherever I go of Chris and I, Richardson, celebrating after that game in Tin Hornet Stadium. So that goes with me everywhere. It just kind of reminds me that's the time when I first realized, hey, we're doing this. We're pretty good at this, and this is working, and it gives us confidence. I think life is about having confidence and believing in yourself. Something based on not just making something up, but really believing in yourself and what you're doing. And so from that point on, we just didn't stop trying to get better and create different ways. We weren't satisfied. We tried to outdo ourselves each year, and I think we did that. And then when I got to that last year before I went to Eastern Washington, it just kind of felt like we had done the things that kind of set out to do and wanted a new challenge. And so embarked on that. And then with the expectation that at some point I was hoping to be a head football coach, at some place in college football, not any specific place, but Sacramento State was a great fit. And then Stanford is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
We have a different audience. So we've talked about the story privately. We've talked about it with the Sacramento audience, going back old school Max Miller. And you're a great high school player, but it didn't start off great for you. And
Right.
It kind of shaped you in terms of being loyal and sticking with guys. Can you talk about that, the interception early on in
Yeah. So back then there, when we moved, I moved around a lot as a kid. We just moved a lot and went to 3 high schools. And we moved from Bella Vista High School to Cordova High School. We didn't own a house. So it wasn't that big of a deal. We just kind of moved neighborhoods. And then it ended, but you do feel pressure when your whole family moves for you. and it put in really for the first time in my life, put in a tremendous amount of work to be really good at playing quarterback. And I felt a lot of pressure, moving the family over and putting all this time into it. And, I won the starting job over a really good player that was the starting quarterback the year before. And we were playing my old school, as luck would have it, Bella Vista High School in the first game. And my first pass, I threw an interception. And one of the assistant coaches on the staff, not the head coach, Max Miller was always a big believer in me, wanted to pull me, wanted to get me out of the game and put the other quarterback in. In fact, I was standing there as he was telling Max Miller to go with the other quarterback. And I really never forget it. It was a turning point in my life. Max never even looked at the guy on the sideline and just said, "Troy's our quarterback." And then I went back in, and then we had an unbelievable year. It really changed my life, and I was able to get a scholarship to Cal. And but that was the kind of the turning point, really. And if it wasn't for Max Miller, I certainly wouldn't have gotten a scholarship, and probably wouldn't be here. So at the end of the day, I owe a lot to Max for just believing in me. And what I take with me from that is, the human element and the human connection, and how important that is to have somebody that believes in you. It just has to be one person. It can really make a huge difference, and I try to do that as a coach and as a parent, and knowing that how powerful that is.
Do you think about that? Maybe a kid throws a pick and there's a 17-year-old Troy Taylor saying, "Man, I want someone to believe in me." Where you stayed with that guy. I mean, maybe Jake Dunaway could have been yanked at Sac State for throwing a pick, but you hung in there with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all the time. I've not been a person that has pulled a quarterback. I don't think I ever have. I'm trying to think back. Not permanently, at least. They've always had the job the whole time, and just kind of being equally yoked with them. And that I always look at it, if the quarterback's not playing well, it's mostly on me, because I haven't prepared him or the system, and I'm not trying to skew that. I really do believe that if the offense isn't producing and the quarterback isn't playing well, we've got to adjust and figure it out and do something a little bit differently. And then hopefully the quarterback feels the same way on his side. So we kind of work together, and then usually it works out. Luckily, I've had really good players, really good quarterbacks that are really committed to their craft, and obviously Jake Dunaway and then Ash O'Hara. Those guys were awesome, really great guys to coach, and taught me a lot about what being a good teammate is, and being selfless and putting the team first. So I'm still learning every day.
Would you ever do that again? I know heading into that 1 year, their junior years, who are you going to go with? Who are you going to? And ultimately ended up playing two guys, which kind of set college football on its ear. Hey, how's this guy getting away with playing two quarterbeurs?
Yeah,
You would do
I've
that
never
again.
done it before. Yeah, never done it before. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. I'm not against it. Certainly it can work. We showed that. I do think the personality and the character of the quarterbacks has to be unique. As I've told you before, those guys are really special guys. They rooted for each other. There was no jealousy. There were no hidden agendas. They just wanted to be successful, and they wanted each other to be successful. That is unusual. And that doesn't mean the quarterbacks that aren't that way are bad guys. It's just inherently, people kind of think about themselves first, and those guys never did, which still amazes me. But yeah, I would do it again if it presented itself, if it can help us. I mean, the benefits are great, right? You always have two guys that are ready to go. If somebody gets hurt or whatever, you've got a guy that has the amount of preparation to do it. The good thing in our system is our ones and our twos, they get almost exactly the same amount of reps. So I always feel like the first and second quarterbacks are ready to roll.
Yeah, the two, and you at least toyed for maybe 5 minutes about the idea of playing the three amigos, right? Tell the fans about that story, the inspiration behind it, and how it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I sometimes I'll really buy into things, and then I try to sell it to my coaches. So we were going to go with three quarterbacks, and I was calling it the Three Amigos, the Amigos package, which is a relatively unknown movie to everybody but you and I, with Dana Garvey and Chevy Chase, and I can't think of the other actor. But
Martin
anyway,
Short, right? Steve Martin.
there you go. It's a really funny movie, and the movie is there's there's these three guys, and their way of beating the bad guy, El Guapo, is they're going to dress everybody up in amigo outfits. So they're going to be coming from everywhere. You don't know who the real three amigos are. So the whole town, they were best at sewing, so they could sew up outfits. So our idea was to get three quarterbacks on the field, and it started out, I had like 6 plays. We're going to work these amigo plays, and then it got down to 4, and then went down to 3, and then eventually it wound up, I think, with 2 plays. And so the amigo package, it doesn't have a huge reputation other than I think we threw a throwback screen to Caden Bennett for the amigo package, and then we used it in the playoffs once. But for a moment there, Dave, I thought I was going to change the face of college football, but it didn't work out that way.
And then you came to your senses.
Right.
Hey, Troy, you mentioned having someone believe in you, and Bo Baldwin, gave you a shot at Eastern, Kyle Whittingham, Utah, of course, Mark Orr. You'll always be grateful for Sacramento State, and ultimately at Stanford. Also, your family, though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you took a job that went to Eastern, and you bounced around. What does that mean to you to have, those folks at home that were in your corner and have it pay off like it has?
Yeah. Anybody that's, existing really has had somebody behind them. And if you've had success, there's always somebody there. I always tell our players that if you have one great parent, you're really lucky. Just one great parent. If you have 2, you've won the lottery, And so I've had a lot of I had great parents. My mom is an angel. And then I've had great people along the line that gave me an opportunity. And Max Miller, starting with Max, many that I can't even, there are too many to mention, but Bo Baldwin gave a guy that was a high school coach and allowed him to be the offensive coordinator at an already school that was really good. It still blows me away that he did that. And then, Mark Orr and the staff there, and then Bernard Muir here at Stanford and all the people. So I'm always flabbergasted somebody would believe in you enough to give you that opportunity. And my family, my wife, we would have never moved up to Eastern Washington if she would have said no. It would have been the end of the story, and I would have been fine with it and staying at Folsom. But she said, let's do it, and my kids, God bless them, my son went to 3 high schools just like me. They never complained, they were awesome. So I'm a lucky guy, I've been able to get away with doing what I love for pretty much my entire life, and I get paid to do it. So kind of like you, Dave, right? We're doing what we like, and people pay us money, so it's a good deal.
Well, your deal's a little better than mine. So. Hey, Troy, I remember asking you when you started at Sac State, I said, hey, how long will it take to be competitive, to be good? And your answer always stuck with me. You said, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And for Stanford fans, just know it's going to happen with Troy Taylor. So
that's my same answer. I feel the same way here, Dave. I know we're going to be champions. I don't know when it's going to happen. It might be the first year. I don't know. It might be the second or third or whatever. But I do believe it'll happen with every fiber of my body. It's just we just got to keep putting the work in. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I know we have everything here that we need to be successful in the future, whether it's a first year or not. We'll get there. But, that's the whole challenge, is of moving forward each day and getting a little better. Hopefully you see results right away, but sometimes it takes a while.
You and Stanford's the right fit. Congratulations on the position, and I really appreciate your time. Go Stanford.
Anytime. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot for stopping by. You can't subscribe to the Dave Lewis Show. Smash that button. Helps out in such a big way. Also, the audio version available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. The 5-star reviews, the comments are huge. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.